But I love your calls on this first. It's Band-Aid, and it's sort of back. It's the 40th anniversary. And has it done more harm than good? That's the question. 020 7862 2222. We'd love to know what you think about it. The 40th anniversary remake of Band-Aid's Do They Know It's Christmas has been released amid controversy over whether or not a charity single has actually done more harm than good for the continent of Africa. So first, let's have a look at the new video.
It's Christmas time. There's no need to be afraid. At Christmas time, we let in light and we banish shade. And in our world of plenty, we can spread a smile of joy. Throw your arms around the world at Christmas time.
OK, since it was announced it was happening again, Ed Sheeran shared this on his Instagram page. My approval wasn't sought on this new Band-Aid 40 release, and had I had the choice, I would have respectfully declined the use of my vocals. A decade on, and my understanding of the narrative associated with this has changed. He was responding to comments made by Fuse ODG, who says the single has perpetuated damaging stereotypes of Africans.
I think it's done more bad than good.
Band-Aid has done more bad than good.
More bad than good because
it's raised tens of millions of pounds.
And it's also cost us in trillions. I'll give one example.
Please, yeah.
I'll give one example.
Yeah.
Because of the image, the negative images that's been portrayed of the continent, Africa is seen as a high-risk profile. And as a result of that, we get high interest rate on our sovereign debts. Right? It's costing us 3.2 billion every year.
Okay.
Right, and you're saying Band-Aid raised millions. That's one example.
Yeah.
Another example is I partnered with the Ghana government for this initiative called the Year of Return that enables people to come to Ghana and just enjoy Africa firsthand. Right, we managed to raise in that year 1.9 billion for the economy. Now imagine this scaled across the continent and all the countries in Africa position themselves like that. So that's potential revenue that we've lost over the years. And when you work that out, it's about 100 billion per year.
Well, you can imagine how the original Band-Aid crew feel about it, and Bob Geldof himself has responded.
I don't know what they're on about. It's as simple as that. But I do want them to go on about it. And then I'll put out our song. Over the years, hundreds of thousands of people are alive, probably millions, because of this. Hundreds of thousands, probably millions. That negates every single argument I've ever heard.
It's an interesting debate, Jemma.
It's really interesting. I want to start by saying that when I hear the original song that Bob Geldof put together, I kind of get shivers and very nostalgia about a time that felt a lot simpler. I was a kid and you saw people starving in Ethiopia. It made me cry. And then the next week, all these pop stars got together and that concert happened. And you felt as a kid, it just was very black and white. Like, this is a good thing to do and we're helping people. That said, that was a long time ago. And I feel like Bob Geldof is an amazing, amazing man. What he's done is fantastic. But I do feel slightly uncomfortable when I listened to the song in full now. Well, it was like, feed the world, like helping Africa. They are quite rich emerging markets. And there's a lot of people there who feel like they're getting patronised, they're getting it's stifling their economic growth and investment.
Just to say this, just on a bit of backstory here, I was on Radio 2 yesterday with Tony Hadley, love Tony, Trevor Horn, producer, but also Harvey Goldsmith. Now, Harvey Goldsmith went on to put on the show.
At Wembley.
Interesting subtext. I said, thank you for giving us the greatest live moment in British rock music, which was Queen. And he said, Bob said, we don't want Queen. And he said, no, we've got to have Queen. So anyway, Harvey was not impressed with Ed Sheeran. Have a listen.
I'm sorry Ed Sheeran's not happy, but if I'd have known, I would have gladly not used him.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff him. It's as simple as that. The charities don't have a problem whatsoever coming to us to ask for grants every single day of the week. So they don't have a problem. I don't know what Ed Sheeran's problem is, nor this other chap who I've never actually heard of personally. But anyway, I don't know what his problem is, but nevertheless, there is famine raging. And this is partly because of the climate change issues.
So you heard Trevor Horn's voice first, then you heard Harvey Goldsmith's voice, and he was the one who was saying he doesn't know who Fuse ODG is. Sorry, Geoff.
I do think there's been an issue with this era we live in where we're going backwards so much to recontextualise things. Of course, some of those lyrics make us feel a bit uncomfortable now, like a lot of stuff from the past makes us feel uncomfortable. But the chap on LBC, when he's saying that the lyrics of a song have cost the African continent trillions, I'd like a little fact check on that. It does seem like a reach that the idea of stereotypes within a song 40 years later could be damaging economies. And, you know, and just on to know what Jemma said, I remember as a kid, and the original was the best. They shouldn't keep doing it, by the way. But I remember that was the first time I genuinely thought of how people were living in other countries, right?
Yeah.
And there was an awakening that happened that not only created, 140 million of charity raised directly, but it also opened people's minds to helping people in countries other than their own.
It was amazing seeing the musicians come together. No, I agree. Can I just take a call? Sorry. Peter in Wolverhampton, hi.
Hello, Jeremy.
Do you think they're right to criticise Band Aid?
No, I think it's great. And if the rest of the Africans are being stereotyped because they're so prosperous, why don't they pour some money into Ethiopia?
Well, it's not quite like that, is it? I mean, there's a lot of pain and suffering in that continent. There's also growing success in many places too. So it's just that I suppose they don't want to be stereotyped, that's all.
Yeah, but if you're being stereotyped by us saying everybody's poor, if you're actually prosperous, then why don't they pour some aid into Ethiopia?
Jemma.
My cognitive dissonance when I was listening to it this morning was we've got 36% of children in poverty in the UK at the moment. Food security issues, perhaps. Look at the farmers. The cost of living through the roof. It did feel slightly weird.
Thank you, Peter. Grace in London, what do you think of Band Aid at 40?
Well, I'd say, first of all, the poverty that we talk about here in the UK is relative poverty. It's not the same as the extreme poverty that we saw in that famine situation, and that is going on in a few parts of Africa at the moment. And we need to have the intelligence as British people to realise how diverse the continent is, because there are people in the continent who are very wealthy, and there are corporations from the West and banks from the West. And, I mean, the interest rates that Fuse ODG mentioned are very significant. The African continent is being grossly exploited by some of our institutions. There's actually far more money coming from the developing world to the developed world than is given in aid. We're actually taking from the developing world.
Yeah, well, I think the EU, you can't easily, if you're an African bean farmer, you're going to have a problem selling into the EU, for example, which we've kind of discovered for ourselves now we've left. Thank you, Grace. Good point. Trevor in Middlesbrough, hi. Hey,
Hello,
Trevor.
Jeremy.
Hi. What do you think of this criticism that Band Aid is getting now?
I think it's right. I really think it's disgraceful. For the simple reason is Bob Geldof. He done this in 1985. He's done it in 2004. He done it in 2014, and he's doing it again now. My brother worked in Ethiopia in 1985, and when he came home to his wife, they had a joint bank account. And when he came home, he found £5 had gone out of his account to Bob Geldof's Band-Aid. He said, "What's all this about?" And she said, "Oh, I've pledged £5 to Band-Aid." He said, "Well, what have you done that for?" He said, "I work over there, you know I do." He said, "And they've got crops, they've got fields." He said, "They won't help themselves." He said, "They won't feed themselves." And what I'm saying is,
interesting thought, yeah, okay.
Jeremy,
and I got you, but
begins at home.
But remember, there was
we have enough troubles in our own country without worrying about them over there.
But Trevor, don't you remember those Michael? Hang on, Trevor.
Geldof goes, he wants to buy himself a bar of soap and get himself a good wash.
Okay. Thank you. We can't.
Look, I think that it's
I can't get started. Sorry, Trevor. I can't. If you can't listen, you can't speak.
No, and also there was a short-term crisis in part, maybe not all of Ethiopia, but in parts. And
yes, the Michael Berg reports were ground. You know, where he saw children dying on TV.
Yeah, not across the whole continent, maybe, and not across all of Ethiopia, but definitely in certain places.
Yeah. Mara in London. Hello.
Yes. Good morning.
Do you think it's what is the word? This white saviour thing? Do you think that's true?
Well, I don't look at people as white or black. I think Bob Geldof is like a hero. He saw all those starving people, and the images were real, and he could have just turned his back. Mm-hmm. But instead, he put his finger out and set up Band-Aid and raised a lot of money to make sure those people were fed.
And are your family originally from Africa,
West
Mara?
Africa. Yes, West Africa, yes.
Okay, what's Sierra Leone or Nigeria or?
Yes.
Okay.
So to me, it's all well and good people sitting back 40-something years later criticizing him. They probably were not privy to those constant images. There was war, there was famine, there was no water, no rain, and he was moved by all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really weird one, I think, that they are. Someone like Tony Hadley, who I saw yesterday, he's got nothing but good intentions. Yeah. He's clearly made nothing out of it. He's just trying to help.
I think we can all see that. I also don't think it's very fair of them to maybe go totally in on Ed Sheeran, because he's entitled to his opinion, and I think at your peril when you're older, which includes myself, just when young people are saying something and you don't agree with it, it's good to listen. It's good to listen. That's a very good thought. And particularly, I think, Fuse ODG, what he's saying there, we should listen to it. Yeah. Even if we feel instinctively he's wrong.
I just worry that Ed Sheeran is coming from a place of fear. He's worried about how something could be perceived and how something could be perceived to be politically incorrect. And it's that modern thing of focusing on what people have said, i.e. the lyrics of a song, rather than what people did. I think the real thing is the money. The money that was raised is the thing that we should be focusing on.
And it's a good song. After that, although it has the song, there won't be snow in Africa this Christmas time.
Yeah. Some of it doesn't stand up.
It doesn't stand up, but that's fine. We were all learning at the time.